Was there any kamikaze pilots who survived, actually, you know what kamikaze?
I would love for you to research that. I would love for you to research how many kamikaze pilots survived World War. Okay, hold on. We're gonna go back to what were the main causes of World War I?
Treaty of Versailles, Maine,
What does Maine stand for?
militarism, allies, imperialism, and nationalism.
And then what ended the war?
The death of Hitler.
No, that's World War II. So let's go back to World War I.
Oh, World War death of Franz Ferdinand.
No, that started.
Yeah, that started. It was the death of,
I forgot his name.
So the spark that started the war was exactly Franz Ferdinand, like you said. Now, what ended? What was signed?
Give us a hint on the treaty or something.
Very good. I like you guys. And so, at the end of World War I, there was something that happened that was kind of like sparked the rise of the dictators. What was that called?
nationalism.
Well, nationalism is one of the causes, but when you're upset about something or you have some sort of feelings about something, what would that be called?
When you have what?
Very good, resentment. So, rise of the dictators was pretty much the resentment behind World War I. So you had all these different ideologies because World War II caused a lot of conflicting ideologies. You might want to note that down. Okay, so let's get to World War II. Look on the board. I want you guys, I'll give you 30 seconds. What would those be called? It's up there. World War II, September 1st, 1939 to September 2nd, 1945. And there are 10 main causes. You guys give me those main causes. Go.
Violation of Treaty of France, Hitler's actions,
Munich.
Munich Agreement, weakness of the League of Nations, appeasement, Nazi-Soviet pact, invasion of Poland, Japan's agreement, isolation.
Okay, so we're gonna leave that there. So now you guys know that, you know the causes of World War I, you know that in between war period was the rise of the dictators or the evil men, and then you know that all the 10 causes of World War II. So let's talk about Hitler's final solution, because we've already went over all these causes. Now let's talk about the Holocaust, because we're gonna start next week on the Holocaust. And remember, for the first 3 days, we are gonna watch My Best Friend and Frank. What's expected of you guys, as far as an assignment, is you are going to write a diary entrance. So I would like for you to really pay attention to the movie. You can pick any character you want to write about. You can be the pot, the shoe in the pot. You can be Anne Frank's best friend. You can be anything in the movie. You can be anyone in the movie, but you're gonna need to make sure that you have a complete description of what you're gonna write about and that feelings of that person. So this whole assignment is gonna be about empathy and feelings, and about how people are treated and the atrocities that happened during the Holocaust. So, what was the final solution? Hitler and the use. So, Adrian, please read.
What do I read? Just that little part here?
Yes.
Political, social, and economic agitation against Jews. In simple terms, it means hatred of Jews.
So, anti-Semitism means, that's the definition of anti-Semitism. Go ahead.
Aryan race, it is the name of Hitler. Name Hitler believed that there was a perfect race. These were people with full German blood, blonde hair, and blue eyes.
And so they consider that to be the Aryan race, correct? Okay. You guys are gonna see these cartoons or these comics later on, and you're gonna have to create your own comic again. So the Aryan race, Hitler's belief was that the Aryan race was the perfect race. There are people who were full-blood German, blonde hair and blue eyes, like you said earlier, a few minutes ago. Okay, Kaden, can I have you read that whole thing, the complete paragraph, please?
For hundreds of years, Christian Europe had regarded the Jews as the Christ killers. At one time or another, Jews have been driven out of almost every European country. The way they were treated in England in the 13th century is a typical example. In 1275, they were made to wear a yellow badge. In 1287, 269 Jews were hanged in the Tower of London. This deep prejudice against Jews was still strong in the 20th century, especially in Germany. Poland and Eastern Europe, where the Jewish population was very large. After the First World War, hundreds of Jews were blamed for the defeat in the war. Prejudice against the Jews grew during the economic depression which followed. Many Germans were poor and unemployed and wanted someone to blame. They turned on the Jews, many of whom were rich and successful in business.
Okay, a little backstory, and I'm gonna read a story to you guys about a 14-year-old boy. But first, let me give you a little backstory on this. Okay, as part of the vision for Hitler and his perfect year, the Nazis proposed this new racial order. They proclaimed that the Germanic peoples, or the Aryans, were the master race. The Nazis claimed that all non-Aryan people, particularly Jewish people, were inferior to them. And then I know that we talked about social Darwinism earlier, where they viewed everyone who were non-European as being savages. And so, going back to this is kind of the same thing when we talk about the master race. These racist messages were eventually led to the Holocaust, the systematic mass slaughters of Jews. And other groups judged the Nazis for saying that the Jewish people were inferior, but to gain support for Hitler's racist ideology, he tapped into the hatred for the Jews that had deep roots, of course, like I said earlier, for the European history in the past. For generations, many Germans, along with other Europeans, had targeted Jews as the cause of their failures. So let's go back to World War I, the end of World War I, and the Treaty of Versailles, and the resentment. You can take it back to that time. You see where some German people blame their country's defeat on the Jews for World War I and its economic problems. In the times, the Nazis made targeting government policy, and they blamed the government policy targets on the Jews. And to the Nuremberg laws were passed in 1935 to deprive the Jews of their rights. German citizens forbid marriages between Jews and non-Jews, and laws passed later also limited the kind of work that the Jewish people could do, or people can do that, not even just Jews, there were other ethnic races there that they would forbid from doing things. Keep going, next slide. So according to them, Jews were the scapegoat. So let's talk about the Nuremberg laws. And Josiah, can you read, please?
The Nuremberg laws excluded German Jews from right citizenship. The Nuremberg law excluded German Jews from right citizenship, prohibited them from marrying or having sexual relationships with people of German or related blood. They had to wear a yellow badge from 1941.
So we'll go back earlier to where they had wear the yellow bags, and now once again in 1941 they had to wear the yellow badges again. So what you guys see is Kristallnacht, Night of the Broken Glass, and we're gonna talk a little bit about Night of the Broken Glass. Thomas, can I have you read that, please?
What's the top part of it?
Just the top part.
I don't know the top three copies.
It's called Kristallnacht, the Night of the Broken Glass.
For 18 long years, virtually in less than 10 minutes, piles of valuable glass with extensive furniture, linen, and short. Everything was destroyed. Nazis left us yelling, "Don't try to leave this house. We'll soon be back again and take you to a concentration camp to be shot."
Okay, so let me give you another backstory, and this is an excerpt. Like I told you guys, your assignment is you're gonna write about something you witnessed in the movie from my best friend Anne Frank. So I'm gonna read you guys a little excerpt. In early 1938, a 17-year-old boy, Herschel Ganspan, a Jewish youth from Germany, was visiting an uncle in Paris. While there, he received a postcard. It said after living in Germany for 27 years, his father had been deported to Poland. On November 7th, wishing to avenge his father's deportation, he shot a German diplomat living in Paris. When Nazi leaders heard the news, they launched a violent attack on the Jewish community. And on November 9th, Nazi stormtroopers attacked the Jewish homes, businesses, and synagogues across Germany and murdered close to 100 Jews. An American named Lippich wrote, Jewish shops' windows by hundreds were systematically smashed. The main streets of the city were positively littered with shattered plate glass. It was for this reason that night, November 9th, became known as Kristallnacht, Night of the Broken Glass. Moses, read ghettos, please.
Segregated Jewish areas sealed with barbed wire and stone walls. Hope Jews would starve to death or die from disease.
So we're gonna skip this really quick and we're gonna go to Night of the Broken Glass video of Kristallnacht. I want you guys to see a little excerpt on that. So you guys get a better understanding of what Kristallnacht is and Night of the Broken Glass. Because this is important, you will see this again. It's a 4-minute video. Please pay attention and listen. So in late 1933, Adolf Hitler.
In late 1933, Adolf Hitler became the Chancellor of Nazi Germany. In the next few years, his Nazi party implemented many nationalistic and anti-Semitic policies that kicked Jews out of civil services and made German businesses stop servicing Jews. Policies that made sure that Jews and Aryans couldn't marry or have any extramarital relationship. Policies that hurt Jewish people. Fast forward to October 1938, direct orders were given to arrest Polish Jews living in Nazi Germany and to send them back to Poland. And so around 17,000 Polish Jews were sent to the Polish border where they were stuck. The Polish border guards wouldn't let them in and they couldn't go back to Germany. So now you have 17,000 people stuck without food or water or shelter at the Polish border. In the crowd of 17,000 were the parents of Herschel Ganspan, a 17-year-old Polish Jew living in Paris after escaping Germany the years prior. Upon hearing the news, Herschel became angry, so angry that he would go out and buy a revolver. On the morning of November 7, 1938, Herschel would enter the German embassy in Paris, posing as a spy. He would claim to have important documents that he could only hand to a high-ranking official. He was then immediately directed to the office of Ernst von Raff. Once in the office, Herschel pulled out his revolver and fired 5 shots straight into the abdomen of Ernst von Raff. Herschel was then reportedly heard shouting insults to the bleeding official while claiming he acted in the name of persecuted Jews. Ernst von Raff would pass away in the evening of November 9th. His passing greatly angered Hitler, the Nazi Party, and many Germans. That anger quickly translated into action that very night. Nazi SS, Nazi SA, Hitler Youth, and German citizens took to the streets all over Germany. They would set fire to synagogues all over the country and vandalize Jewish homes, schools, hospitals, businesses, and cemeteries. They would also attack and murder many Jews as well. German police officers and German firefighters were ordered to do nothing as the situation spiraled out of control. Firefighters would only extinguish fires that threatened Aryan-owned property. By the morning of November 10, 1938, everything had died down. The aftermath of the previous night was clear for everyone to see. More than 250 synagogues were burned down, over 7,000 Jewish businesses were trashed and looted, and even more homes were vandalized. Nearly 100 Jews were murdered as well. The streets were littered with broken glasses, giving rise to the name the Night of Broken Glass or Kristallnacht. The Nazi Party placed heavy blame on the Jewish community for quote-unquote causing Kristallnacht. They would go on to arrest more than 30,000 Jewish men and send them to various Nazi concentration camps. They would also place a fine on the German Jewish community, reportedly worth 1 billion mark, or roughly 500 million USD. Kristallnacht was reported all over the world, with various reactions ranging from shock to condemnation to criticism and to rage. However, a few countries would actually take any meaningful action to help the German Jews. By the start of World War II, there were still more than 200,000 German Jews stuck in Germany, awaiting an uncertain future. Kristallnacht, or the Night of Broken Glass, was a turning point in the harassment of Jews in Nazi Germany. Before Kristallnacht, the harassment was mainly non-violent, but now going forward, it seems like the mistreatment and the harassment of German Jews and other Jewish people would only intensify. It would seem that things will only get worse as the Nazi Party aimed to solve the quote-unquote Jewish question. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. See you next time.
And so when we talk about the final solution, thinking about that young man's story, do you think the violence would only get worse, or do you think it would subside? Think about it. What do you think? Mia, what do you think? What do you think about the violence, the atrocities that happened based on that situation? Do you think, because we haven't went any further, so I'm not gonna tell you what happens, but do you think the violence subsides, or do you think that further violence is gonna happen against the Jewish people?
There's more that's gonna happen.
You think there's more gonna happen? What do you think, Adrian, about that? How old are you?
16.
So if that happened right now, how would you react?
I'll be shocked.
I mean, would you have done the same thing as that young man?
What do you do again?
You were paying attention and you're sitting right in front of the screen. Would you have took the gun and went in and posed as someone else and shot someone? So does violence beget violence? Okay. Alright, so I'm gonna read you another memory from that night. Because remember, this whole section is writing down memories. So you're gonna act as one of these people. A 14-year boy described his memories of that night. All the things for which my parents had worked 18 long years were destroyed in less than 10 minutes. Piles of valuable glasses, expensive furniture, linen, and in short, everything was destroyed. The Nazis left us, yelling, "Don't try to leave the house. We'll soon be back again and take you to the concentration camp to be shot." So if you already know death is upon you, and you already know that none of these Nazi soldiers are playing, what would you have done? Would you have escaped? Would you try to take your family to safety? What would you have done? Escaped, right? So some of you guys have heard of Anne Frank and her diary, and you know they had to hide in someone's home, one of her best friend's home. So would you guys have done the same?
Yes.
And knowing what you know now that you have technology, which technology kinda has ruined this a little bit, would you have written a diary or everything that happened to you during this time for someone later to talk about or to save as history?
I'll make videos.
I mean, your phone is gonna die eventually. Think about it.
Do they not have it?
They have no internet, remember. In certain countries where there's dictators, they control everything. So think about it. Make the connection to what's going on in countries today like Korea.
Portable chargers.
Some people don't have this opportunity. Their media is controlled. The Soviet media is controlled. North Korea, everything is controlled. So you don't have the same things you have in the United States where we're free. We have all these different constitutional rights. So say you have no rights. These people had no rights. How would you write down everything that's going on around you? How would you document it, huh?
Caesar's cipher.
A lot of people did that. Write on the walls, write on everything you can find, but remember, you cannot use internet because that can be tracked. You're gonna need to write down everything on paper.
I'm just gonna keep it like in my camera room.
But you gotta remember, you're not supposed to be there. You're hiding out in this hole in the wall somewhere. So think about these things. Think about students that were your age during this time frame that did not have the internet, did not have a videotape, did not have a telephone. How are you going to document what's going on? Think about it. Think about it, think about it, think about it. How many minutes do we have? We only have 2 minutes. Okay, you guys, go ahead and please plug in your Chromebooks. We didn't get a chance to finish everything. We will work on this. And then it's like 5 minutes left and then we'll work on the movie. You guys have a good weekend.